Hello, welcome to the SEO Party. I am Timmy. Our co-host is Alex Alexakis. We have Naveed behind the camera. And joining us today, our guest is Paul Williamson with Pronto. Hello, Paul. How are you?
I'm really good. How you doing? Thanks for having me.
Doing pretty well. First burning question. Tell us a little bit about you. Who are you?
So, I hadn't really thought about the question coming. I am Paul. So I run a marketing agency in the UK. We help businesses move from kind of random marketing activities to strategic data-driven campaigns that align with their business goals. Outside of work, I love wakeboarding, walking my dogs, generally trying to find whatever a work-life balance is these days.
Awesome. Well, Paul, I understand that Pronto is quite new. I think you're like a year and a half into your inception. So walk us through how it's been. What's the growth been like?
Yeah, so growth's been really good, to be fair. I mean, it might be interesting for me to just take a step back in terms of how I got into the role I'm in now, if that would be helpful. Just a very quick.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I used to run a microbrewery and events company, and I built that up over kind of 7 and a bit years. So kind of good grounding in business knowledge. And it was a microbrewery. We did events, conferences, weddings, shop, tours, all sorts. And then ultimately I love beer, but it's not what I wanted to do long term. And after COVID, there was kind of a great reset, wasn't there? Of like, well, where do I want to be in 5 years? And is this it? So sold that company, and then ended up being like, I love the marketing, I love the storytelling. And I ended up getting headhunted into a PR and digital marketing agency who filmed me when I was at the brewery. And I was like, I really enjoy this. It's kind of what I want to do. And then thought I missed being my own boss and making those decisions and strategic alignment. And so it was about December, about 18 months ago, I set up Pronto Marketing. So we're a PR and digital marketing agency. Initially started with one client, and it's grown really well since then. So word of mouth, recommendations. And so now we kind of look after industrial, B2B, hospitality, kind of tourism type businesses, but it's mainly kind of B2B and hospitality.
Interesting. Alex, you can probably relate a little bit, right? You went from a different background and did kind of brought yourself into marketing stuff. Why don't you tell us about that journey? I think Paul would find that interesting.
Yeah. So my background was in design. We did actually hospitality design. We did hotels and restaurants, and with my Greek background, like restaurants halt me here. Like even now we get restaurant clients, and the more we try to stay away from them, we get them. But we went from doing interior concepts for restaurants to actually working as a designer back in the day for Westgate Resorts internally, and then moved into marketing because, again, you can do beautiful designs, you don't market them, nothing happens. And then COVID was also for us a big change where I went full on with my agency. But no, it's very interesting, how things can change in life, and you can make decisions based on your backgrounds, for sure. So where are you located? I don't think we mentioned that earlier on.
So we're based in Worcester, but we operate nationwide and internationally, if you know anyone who's interested.
Yeah, for sure.
But so Midlands kind of.
Yeah, and talk to me, because right now with the AI and all that stuff that pops up, I keep reading articles that, like PR and mentions and all that stuff, and link building, and listicles and all those items are super important nowadays. Like, talk to me about I want to understand, like, as a PR firm, like, how do you, do you consider these things? Like, how do you if I come as a client, how would you approach all of the stuff to actually help to be maybe to find us some coverage that will help be found into the AI engines?
So AI is a really interesting one, isn't it? Because it's the hot topic now. Everyone's talking about it. I imagine all of you are probably using AI every day, are you? In some way or
Oh
another?
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, I've been dabbling a lot recently.
My AI reminded me I had a podcast today. Otherwise, I would be late.
Timmy is AI. I think Timmy is just AI.
Yeah.
Not really here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's AI in Naveed. But it's one of those things, isn't it? Everyone knows it's there. Everyone's kind of still trying to find their feet with it, and everyone's trying to figure out how to do it. And I think marketing can sometimes be a little bit of a fluffy term. And I think with the rise of AI and citations and having your brand represented in the best way and being seen by your target audience, PR is one of the best ways. So the way I approach PR, it should be part of an overall marketing strategy. So one thing I really focus on at the very beginning is, what are your business goals? What do you want to achieve? And then what are the marketing strategies and tactics that we employ to help you get you towards your marketing goals? And there's quick wins, long-term goals, but I think PR should definitely be one of those key elements of your marketing strategy. And the way I approach it with some of our clients, and I'll give you a great example. One of our clients is in water filtration, so massive industrial water filtration with a lot of companies you would know, so kind of Britvic Water, Heineken Beer, Lucozade Ribena, which is an energy drink in the UK. So some big companies, and they do water filtration on a mass scale. And data centers, for example, is one. But there's a lot of people in that market, and they want to be seen as a thought leader in that, and not knowing how to approach it or be seen in the areas they're being or want to be seen, and the kind of target audience, because it's pretty niche, isn't it? If you're looking for how to cool a data center, you're not mass market there. So when we spoke to them, part of it was we're looking at blogs, we're looking at social, we're looking at all the other things you're doing, but PR, so we'll position you as a thought leader. So we would approach journalists, publications, we'd do a load of research behind the scenes of what is it that your business does, what's happening in the industry, what's of interest, and how do we link those two up. And we focus on organic coverage. So it's not advertorial, it's talking about a topic, it's talking about an issue, it's talking about something that's of interest to the readers. And then subtly within that, we'll weave in what they do. I've forgotten the name of the data center magazine now, but the data centers was one. It was really specific, but we got a 900-word feature where we positioned them as the thought leader and talking all around the topic. And if you're in that world, that's a pretty big win. And so for them, they operate across 6 different markets, and we've been specifically working 3 different ones for them as an example.
A quick question on that campaign that you did. What was were you able to track some sort of growth or monetary result of that? Was that feasible at all with that campaign?
It's difficult. I mean, one of the things for them in particular is that's part of a bigger picture, that the tender process tends to be quite long on things like that because of the size of the companies. They need to focus on figuring out how much water it's going to save, what's the implementation, how it's going to impact our business. The tender process, you're talking months. Excuse me. So for that particular one, we've tracked the performance of the website on those particular pages. We've created an in the press page, which is consistently in their top 3 web pages month on month. So we end up using that content to produce a lot more content, blogs, LinkedIn articles, again, being seen by their target audience. We also track the level of users that are engaging with them, the seniority level. So in terms of that, it's been big wins. We've been seeing a lot of AI citations in the target keywords that we've been aiming for. So they have seen really good growth in the areas we're striving for. But in terms of monetary value, I can't put a monetary value on that as yet, but hopefully soon.
It's really interesting, because I see that a lot as well. Like you guys, I have somewhat of a corporate background, right? So we always, like the KPI, like what's the measure? Like how do you assess spending money on something, right? And it varies so much from industry to industry. But I think with these days, just because everything is so digital, right? Everything is data sets are so readily available. I'll be curious to see if there's a way to tangibly have a deliverable besides the actual article going live, or the stir that comes out of it. So it's always fascinates me how that how that all works, right? So
There are new tools coming out all the time, aren't they? We use I know we met at MozCon in London, but we use SEMrush, and there's some fantastic tools on there, AI tracking. And so we've produced for that particular client a whole content plan and target. So that's a long-term strategy. And it's, for example, with the AI overviews and being cited on Perplexity, Claude, ChatGPT, which is the dominant AI search at the moment, isn't it? That's part of kind of a long-term plan. And we're seeing citations go up and references a lot more. And it's quite good in a niche market for them in particular, because there's not a massive amount of people writing about the things that we're trying to write about, and in the unique ways and targeted topics that we're positioning them to be answering. So they're a pretty good case study for it, but we are actually tracking that ongoing, but it's still kind of pretty fresh in terms of those analytics and those KPIs and what are people interested in most.
Yeah, it'll be. I mean, great. I recommend making a case study out of it. Because that's you want bragging rights, right? So that I think calls for it. So interesting.
And before we go too far along, like what I love what you said, you talked about that you did a PR campaign and then you took all that media and then repurposed it, right? Because I think a lot of people are missing that a lot of times. Like, and I know, like, initially my beginning of my career, I would do one piece of content and then that was it, like without thinking through. Well, now, like we run for example, an e-commerce business. We create an article, like a long listicle that's well researched with good information, good images, and that listicle, for example, could become a TikTok videos, Instagram video, a Facebook, like different posts on Facebook, YouTube video, YouTube shorts, right? So with one, you kill like 10 birds with one stone, right? Like type of thing. And I think nowadays, and I know I keep saying AI because like everything I read the past like week, it's so AI driven that drives me crazy. And I have like a list of all these notes where everybody says, like put all these items there, listicle formats, make it easy to digest, feed everything, because different engines grab information from different sources. So yeah, it's I love that you mentioned the repurposing of the media. That's super, super important.
I think you always feel pressure though, don't you, to do so much? It's like, what's next? What's the new thing? But actually, for me, I think what we should be focusing is quality over quantity. But how do we make the work that we're doing work harder without actually having to work a lot harder? So like you said, it's like you're doing one thing. How do you cut one 50-minute video into like 6 snippets that are really strong? And then how do you use that to create subsections? And it is quality over quantity, and it's making it work harder. So yeah, I massively resonate with that. But there is always that, especially if like you focus on marketing, you see the next thing, it's like, oh, that was really cool, we should try that. But it's actually like taking a step back, being like, well, how do we make this? We've put a lot of energy into this 900-word thought leadership piece, and there's some real golden nuggets in here. How do we then snippet that up and make the most of that across multi-platform? Because search is changing, isn't it? And generational thing as well. It's not just AI, it's social. I know people who plan their whole holidays based on TikTok videos.
Mhm.
My
Yeah.
wife's constantly adding videos to like a shared private album of holidays. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. It's crazy. No, I mean, and my wife also does it's the TikTok and the Amazon influencers too. That's insane, right? Like, because she told me, she's like, "Oh, I bought a phone." I'm like, "What the hell is an Amazon influencer?" Right? And I didn't realize that such a big uh, power behind that, right? Like I just saw it, never thought that, but yeah, it's crazy.
Wait,
Um,
what's an Amazon influencer? I'm in the dark.
Yeah, I've seen them. So it's like when
yeah,
you go on Amazon and they'll have like videos where it's like they're going to do a review or they're going to be talking about it or they're promoting certain uh, products, and I find it weird, to be perfectly honest, because
yeah,
it's like it's just very very produced. They're very very excited about all these things you can get on Amazon, and
yeah,
you're at Amazon. It just seems a little like I'm already here. I already know what I'm getting, and I'm not terribly
yeah.
interested in what you're trying to sell. But yeah, it's kind of a big thing. There's a lot going on, and um, it's not your typical sort of like I'm just a regular person and I'm in my house and let me talk about the toothbrush I just bought. They're in a studio and it all looks clean and professional, and they're really trying to sell those toothbrushes.
You gotta make that affiliate money, bro. You know,
Yeah.
you gotta make that. Yeah, make you click on the affiliate link.
They have that
Um,
Amazon money.
No, that's crazy. It's um, so many different trends. I mean, for context, guys, I have no social media. I've never had any Facebook. The only social media I have, I guess, would be YouTube. Because I consume videos and stuff. But it's all, and my feed's always watches, motorcycles, and SEO stuff that I'm interested in. But it's changed so much, like from back in the day. I mean, like when we had I would buy books from Amazon. That was my thing, like and now it's they drive the narrative on how people shop. It's crazy how things have changed.
And it's scary how it learns as well, isn't it? Because I had it
Oh, yeah.
had it earlier this week. I had to buy a new mouse, and I found myself Googling. I was getting wrist pain just in a massive website project. I was getting wrist pain from having to do all the clicks like that. It was like really long days and carpal tunnel or whatever it was. And I was like, I want an ergonomic, and went down the review rabbit hole and all the rest of it. Anyway, I found a mouse, added it to my basket. And next time I logged onto Amazon, it's like, oh, the docking station. It's like, actually, I could do that. I find myself adding to the basket, and it's like, I don't need this. Like, but I would like it. That would actually be, that would save me a bit of time. That would save me having to unplug this cable to put that cable in. But it almost that's what Amazon's great at it, because it makes you want to buy without you feel like you're being sold to. But it's also scary because it's almost like you've lost, well, I feel like I've lost track of it. I'm not as aware at times that I'm being sold to, because it feels like it's the natural thing. It's like, oh, well, I'm being shown it because I want to see it.
Our studio is full of little trinkets that Timmy finds. It's like, oh, I was buying a light, and then this crane looks really cool.
Saw this thing. It's like pretty cool.
Yeah.
I feel like we can use this.
Yeah.
Have you
I
got
think
a top
we-
trinket? Have you got
What?
a top trinket? You got a favorite trinket?
Oh, well, do I have a favorite trinket?
I think there's so many. It changes from day to day. I mean, let me put it this way. But no, we got some cool stuff. I mean,
we got
it's
some stuff.
Yeah.
So does Amazon in
Yeah,
where
thanks.
you're at? Does Amazon deliver like same day type of thing? Like here, it's like I can order something right now and it's in my house by like in 3 hours. That's scary, right? Like it's the ease. You don't have to leave your house and it's here, right? Like so. Well, that's good for them, I guess.
Yeah. Or it's like sometimes when it's like a very specific item that's kind of off the beaten path and then you order it and they're like, yeah, it'll be there in 4 hours. Like, I feel like that's too fast. It's too fast for, this microphone. Like, it's just on a chair or in a van, just driving around, waiting for someone to order it, and then print the label.
Boom.
There you go.
Done.
You got it.
It's crazy.
It's funny
You
when
got
you
a system down.
Sorry, go on.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I remember growing up and it was like shops were closed on Sunday. And now it seems crazy to think that the shops would close on a day of the week. When I was growing up, that was just a normal thing. It's like, oh no, you can't get anything on a Sunday because it's Sunday. Everywhere's shut. And now you can get something like in 4 hours, even if it's Sunday, or if you're shopping at like 3 a.m., it'll be at your door when you wake up. Don't worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
I think the United States went backwards though. After COVID, because I moved from Greece to here, right? So it was the same thing. Specific times of the day closed, Sunday closed. Well, here you had like a Walmart 24 hours a day, right? Well, now they don't have that anymore, right? I feel like Americans become more European as the time goes by, and I think the Europeans want to be American, in culture and shopping.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah, we've had a few like Walmarts that were 24 hours, and I think they close now.
Yeah, 11 p.m.
Yeah,
that's what they do. Even I remember, Denny's were open 24/7, 365.
Yeah.
And then one time, I don't know what happened. I think they had a labor strike or something, and they wanted to close for Christmas because they were open on Christmas, and they were open on Thanksgiving. And it was funny, like, oh, does Denny's even have locks? Because they're always open. They have locks on their front door.
Don't need them.
Yeah. No, but I see your point though. I mean, I've had one time I was with my wife and we were watching something and we saw a video about baruca nuts. And we went from watching the video and then 2 hours later eating them. And thank you, Amazon. And it happened. So it's crazy. But yeah. So I wanted to ask you, Paul, because I think you're very uniquely positioned to answer this question, just because your agency is so new, right? I'm curious to hear about your challenges, because I think our viewers and listeners, we have quite a few agencies that are our clients, and obviously they're also listeners as well. I think it'll be interesting to hear about how, what kind of challenges have you faced in your growth, and how did you address them?
So I think the initial challenge, or one of the hardest things for me was, I think especially in the early days, I would say yes to everything. So I was trying to grow the business, which was kind of like a necessary evil at the time. You need to get more money in, you need to do more, but also you open myself up to spreading myself thinly. So that was one of the biggest challenges in terms of trying to get new clients in. When people say, "Oh, can you do this?" It's like, yeah, I can do that. And then I'd always haven't missed any deadlines, and I'd always deliver. But it got to a point when I'd grown the business, I'd got more clients, and I needed to get to a point to then recruit someone to then help me grow more. So I wasn't doing so much to do. I could work on the business instead of working out the business. And so I think that was one of the biggest challenges in terms of client management, doing the do, planning, strategy, being all consuming, also having a baby in the middle of that, which doesn't necessarily help with. Yeah. I always thought having a baby as well would be like, oh, you can just put them down and they'll sleep and it'll be okay.
Nope.
Nope. So I think that was a real big challenge in terms of managing my time. And then when I grew to a certain point, I actually managed to, it's still going through that. And I think that's, for me, that'll always be an evolving process of what's going to move the needle the most for me and what's going to be the biggest thing for my clients, because people will always ask for stuff and will always want stuff. But actually, this is where I've really tried to hone in on speaking with my clients and what are their business needs, what are their business goals, And then how do we work back from that? Because we don't want a scattergun approach. We want to make their money work harder. And I think having from my own business and microbrewery, which margins are tight, and you can buy grain and hops and you're not getting paid for them until you've brewed the beer, and that's conditioned, and then it's available for sale. So you might buy stuff and then you're not getting paid for the 2 months. So having fundamentals of how is my money going to work harder for me, and that was like a core principle for me going into it as like an agency. Well, how do we make our marketing work hard for you? I think that's been really important. And so I think when growing my business and speaking with the clients about what they want and what they need, helping manage their expectations and what they want from me and an agency and the results they're going to get, I think has been one of the challenges. And I'm in a much better place with that now. I don't know if that's anything that you've experienced, or whether you kind of, I mean, I suppose you've got a product, haven't you, building links. So it's nice. Like you know, that's what you're doing. You're not selling multiple services. So it's concentrate in terms of your efforts.
Yeah, our business is very one track, right? And we did that on purpose because I can't go back to agency life anymore, because I just think about it and it just makes me, gives me the goosebumps, because it's, but again, when I did it, I had exactly the same challenges, and I think when we learned to say no, I think that was when we knew that we've matured, right? Like that, the courage and being able to, and obviously being financially stable, you need to be able to do that. Otherwise, I mean, Alex, you can probably speak to it better than I do, but can you relate to that?
Well, yeah, it's hard to niche, right? Like, and I think that's what the problem is with a lot of people. And if you don't have a good chance to say, okay, I want to just focus on this, and I can actually make it out the X amount of months until I grow to that, it's very difficult. I still find myself in situations where we work on a lot of things because I love challenge, right? Like so initially we used to offer like SEO services and all that stuff, and now we're almost 100% of 99% of our focus is just building the website, which has helped tremendously, because now it's a product. It's not just a service. There's still difficult parts of it, and I know that Naveed said about the agency. You deal with people, which is a very difficult thing. You deal with design, which is very subjective, right? Mm-hmm. And you also deal with entrepreneurs, where they have specific opinions, and you have to understand the industry so you don't sound silly when you talk to them, right? You need to be confident. So so we created process behind all that, but it's very difficult. For me, it has been the most difficult part to say no, right? Like, and Naveed knows that. I call and I complain. But a lot of times I take on projects because it gives something else, right? Like there's something behind it. And that's what I do. It's not a smart idea. And we're actually also proactively doing the same thing. We're scaling to just focus on one thing. It's just so much easier, right? Like even think of that, building a website for a restaurant is like 100% different than building a website for a plumber that has that serves 300 locations, right? Like it's not the same thing at all. So your people need to understand the locations, the content, the layouts, the purpose for your page. So just the training and explanation just takes hours and hours and hours,
Finding your niche is huge, and I mean, what helped me in growing the company to where it is right now is process. We worked a lot in making sure that everything is dialed on, like contingencies are put in place, like what do we do when X happens, accountability is huge, if you and the thing is that ownership also is massive. But then especially when you have a lot of people. I mean, our team's 200 people, right? So just and making sure everybody's working in sync without any delays. I mean, we're time bound, right? So our deliveries are very specific, right? We have to get this done in 30 days, right? And how do we do that, right? We're creating thousands of pieces of content. I mean, there's been months where we had to create 20,000 articles. I mean, just imagine the volume, right? But if we didn't have processes put in place, and we didn't have the tech behind the support that we built, again, and one thing I think people miss out on, and I learned the hard way, is controlling growth. It's very important, because when you grow too fast, the challenges, and being able to cope up with that and just trying to sustain that is such a unpleasant thought. It's just not, just doesn't work. And you can get lucky, but if you can't sustain that, the failure from that, like coming back from that, is very, very hard. So I was very adamant. It's like, dude, to my business partners and to everybody, hey, let's pick a pace. Let's go there. Let's go step by step. And being able to trust people, that's another big thing. You can't, as a business owner, do everything yourself. It's just practically impossible. And there comes a time where you need to have, people helping you out, and you need to be able to trust. I remember, Alex, our conversation. I remember one time Alex was telling me about something. I was like, dude, you need a PA. you need
Best decision of my life. Like, he changed my life, right? And Rose right now, and I want to mention her because thanks to Naveed, I went and found, it was the beginning of the stage, so money was an issue. So I went in the Philippines and I found this girl, super smart. And now Rose is my right hand, right? Like, business cannot operate without her, right? Like, she takes care of things. And it has been one of the most important parts, because I was hesitant. I was like, man, I have to train that person, and how, and I'm very picky on things, like very specific. I work crazy hours. Who's going to follow me, right? Like, who's going to do that? No, that was insane.
Challenge on its own is being able, like, getting people to adapt, right? Is because you can't expect 100% out of everybody, right? You can't expect them to be on the same level as you or give you the same thing. But, like, how do you get there? Because you can get there. There is a learning curve, there is compromise, there is a bit of understanding, and then you lean on their strengths and make sure you're not pointing too much towards their weakness, and that generally ends up being successful. I mean, we were doing reviews right now, for with our HR to like a yearly review for for salaries and stuff like that, right? So we've had employees that have been working with us for 12 years, and it just makes me so happy. It's like, oh, they're like, being able to do that, it's I think is a feat. But yeah, that's some good challenges. Anything right now that you're stuck on, Paul, that that you think is something that's a stone in your shoe? And
I mean, there was something you said before that really resonated with me, that reminds me of a challenge and something that I felt conflicted in my decision. That's what you mentioned, some lines of, when you say yes, I mean, can't say yes to everything, but when you do say yes to one thing, you're saying no to an infinite amount of other things. You've only got a set amount of capacity, haven't you? So you've got to plan out, especially early days. I've got to map out. I've got a full week, X amount of hours per day, and I work stupid hours anyway, but how do I make the most from my time? And there was a client that came to me, and there were some red flags, but at the time I ignored those red flags for a certain amount of time. And I'm someone who, a lot of agency models will sell based on time. I very much focus on strategy before tactics. So sell outcomes. So you start with the business goals and then work back with the marketing kind of tactics. So I'd prefer to overpromise and over-deliver than overpromise and under-deliver. Make sure I get that right.
Yeah, right.
And also being really clear with the expectations. So this is what we're doing each month. And generally I always over-deliver just because that's generally what you end up doing, or what I end up doing. And so one of the red flags, this client in particular, their business was early days. It was a few years old, but it was growing massively. They'd remortgaged their house to try and support the growth. So there was like a big red flag. It was a husband and wife team, which was another red flag at the time, just in terms of the composition of the roles within that business. And I massively over-delivered because I knew that they were struggling on certain things, and I wanted to go over and above to try and help them make it work. So I knew it was important to them, and then took that on myself as well. I got to the point and I was like, I can't keep on doing this. Like, the expectations keep getting more and more, but the financial side of it isn't in balance. I ended up at the point where I was like, I can't keep on doing this. So for me, it's not working out. And I walked away from the contract. But at the time I was thinking, this is a big contract for me. But actually I felt so much better having moved away from it, because if I was working out the time that I was working on it, the time to energy was not in balance. In terms of current challenges though, I think for me, a current concentration is business growth element, and making sure that we're consistently delivering on the things that are most important to the clients. I think clients' priorities change and different things come into focus. And it's like you mentioned before, Alex, it was, especially with design, it's so subjective. If you've probably got a really clear, structured brief. So what do you want from this website? What are the colors you like? What's your brand? And if it ticks the brief, but you don't like it, then that's subjective. So in terms of what we're doing for clients, it's like, right, well, this is the plan, this is the tactics, we're delivering on that. You're happy with that, great. And if you want us to do other stuff, we can weave it in, or we can reanalyze what we're focusing on. But yeah, just making sure that we're consistently delivering and aligned. And the growth has been mainly through word of mouth and reputation. So it seems to be going the right direction, but I want to make sure that doesn't fall by the wayside. And especially getting new people on, that those standards are met across the board. And so far they have been, which is fantastic. But it's when I start doing less of the overseeing and of the doing that I have been doing, and let that be taken over by the team, making sure that those standards don't slip when I start trying to take on new clients. So that I think is going to be the biggest challenge incoming.
And sales take a long time. I mean, like I always, as a designer, before I started all of this, I undervalued how much effort, education, and time requires to gain somebody's trust, right? To know the right things, to be able to sell something, right? Like it's very difficult. And again, if you want to do what you said, where you want to over deliver, which I think most of successful people want to do that, you have to know your audience, right? So it takes a lot of time to learn that. It doesn't happen overnight. I want to ask something else. What is your, like, because we said you don't take all the client, like all, you're specific. Is there a niche that you target? Like, what is the niche that you go after for your, what type of clients, for example? Let's break them down. Like, what's your favorite client to work with, or the audience that you actually want to work with?
I really like kind of manufacturing, industrial. So, I mean, there's one client that's kind of site clearance, forestry, wood pellet production, like water filtration, things like that. And the reason being is quite often they've got cool machinery that I just find interesting. But another reason is generally a lot of those businesses, or medium-sized businesses, they've grown and done really well because they're good at what they do. They have a good business, they've got good people, they've got good service, they've got good products. And marketing has been something that it's just something that happens. And I think one of the reasons I like that is because it can really help elevate the marketing efforts in line with the services and products that they offer. Because marketing can be such a fluffy term, can't it? Like, oh, let's do some marketing, or we need to write a monthly blog, we need to do that. It's actually, for the clients I do have, they really value the experience and expertise we bring to the party for them. And they see the KPIs at the end of the month. I think building that trust, like you mentioned before, is something that I try and focus on quite a lot. We say what we do and we do what we say, and part of it is the monthly reporting. So I include all our statistic heavy reports if they do want to dive into the details, but not everyone loves details. So I'll then also give the highlights, give what's working, what isn't working, how we're responding to what's not working, and kind of insights and thoughts about those different things. And I hope that kind of resonates with the clients and they can ask and challenge us on our way of thinking on that. But yeah, I think the kind of industrial manufacturing clients are really good for that. Don't get me wrong, I love hospitality, travel, but I think they tend to be a little bit more they're either doing really well or they're struggling. And I think, especially post-COVID, it's been a rough time. I think a lot of businesses are really struggling still. And it's not even post-COVID. I think there's a lot of other economic pressures at the moment, energy costs, people's spending habits that are impacting those as well. But generally, kind of, that's another reason I like those industries, is because they're a little more stable and secure for that.
Yeah, and also hospitality. I mean, again, I have friends that still work at Westgate, where I used to work before, and man, there has been so many changes with Google, the search results, how the hotel feature snippets and how that works and how that connects to your site. There's lawsuits with different websites, like killing, smaller brands. I mean, there's a lot of money in it, and I think there's a lot of people in it that try to take money out, which becomes a very stressful and harder place to be at, for sure.
I mean, I kind of like it as well because, for example, with hotels, there's it's fiercely competitive, isn't it? And a lot of the kind of technical website stuff goes into that. Then also there's a lot of off-web stuff that goes on. How are you re-enticing them in? How are you engaging with your audience? How are you encouraging them to come back? Offers, I don't know, loyalty cards, things like that. And it's, I think that's a really tough market. I love it. It is an interesting market, but had an interesting, interesting phrase that stuck with me from the other day. I was talking to a tourism client of mine, and we're making the plan for the next year about selling an area and a location. It's a beautiful area, and it's like, we need to sell the sizzle, not the sausage, because people can go anywhere, can't they? But what is it about this area that they can't get anywhere else? I'm really trying to hone in on that. But yeah, that really stuck with me. Sell the sizzle, not the sausage.
That's funny.
I have one thing to add before we move on to the next topic is, you were talking about growth, Paul, and what I found, and that's helped, and that's my advice to everybody is, your USP, right? You should know what it is, right? When you're doing it over a certain amount of time. I think if you realize that, and if that's on the forefront of what you're trying to sell, right, makes it a lot more easier, I believe, to focus on the growth, right? Because then, and then if it's attached to a problem statement, that that you do, for me, that's been an eye opener. Like when I start thinking in those terms, I do. So like every time I spiel, when I'm trying to talk to clients, whether they're agencies or enterprise or consultants and stuff, that's something that I always make sure that it's in my presentation, and how it's married to their problem statement as well, right? I think that helps, especially if you have a very narrow focus and you're targeting a specific industry, and you're able to do that, right? If so, that I think has been very beneficial for me, and that's something I would tell you to think about. So
That's definitely something I need to refine. I mean, I focus on data-driven campaigns that deliver business goals, and having a background in having my own business, and then also worked in a PR and marketing agency. I think they go quite well. But I mean, is that something? What would you say can you explain what yours would be, just as like an example?
Sure. So I mean, so our USP that I do is, we only focus on link building, right? That's my primary focus, right? And my deliverables are attached to that, right? I'm not promising anything else. If everything else falls into place, right, I can do that, right? But then I look at missed opportunities, right? Here's where things that you have missed out on, right? So my USP is, a lot of customers, I tell them, hey, my consultation is free of cost to you, right? I bank on the fact that if I give you some good direction on what you're doing, missed opportunities just by looking at raw data that you have on your website. There's so many clients that I met a pretty big enterprise client on a conference. We were just having a casual conversation, and especially when people think link building, they run away right away. But me and him were having a very intelligent conversation about something, and I pointed something very redundant out to them about what is going on their website within 5 minutes, because I did a little bit of homework, and they didn't realize it. They're like, oh my, I never saw it this way, and thank you so much for pointing that out. And 2 months later, right, I get an email saying, hey, thank you for the advice that you did, and I use the word free money. I said, hey, if you fix this, it's free money. You're going to solve a lot of your problems, right? And so that, just do that. That's it. And I didn't push. I didn't do a follow up or anything, and they came to me, right? So yeah, so it's tacit and what the approach is, but I know what it is, right? I know that, hey, we do what we do, and we do it really well. And we have a very set, specific idea that we're doing, and we can adapt to your process as opposed to you adapting to ours, right? If you like things a certain way, I'll make sure I'm doing it in that way. That's my USP, right? That's my and I do that. And you look, we have 3,000 clients, right? 150 to 200 of them are active at any given time. I have 0 contracts. I have no contracts with any of them. And when I tell other people, it's like, that's crazy. Like, why would you do? And we do millions of dollars of book of business with these people, and don't have a contract, and they're happy, right? So that makes a huge difference, in gaining that trust, and not being, pushing something on them that they don't need. There's a lot of times clients come and say, hey, we want to spend 50,000, and I was like, you know what? I don't think you can spend 50. I think you can spend 5. I think you can spend 10 and get the result. I don't know what the hell I'm going to do with the 40, right? So best keep it, right? Or let's save it for a rainy day and then figure out something else that you could do it on. And then that's it. And I just leave it at that, right? That I think helps a lot, and as big as we are, I don't have a sales team. We don't have that. It's all there. It just happens organically, which is why I love going to conferences. and having these conversations. And I can tell you, so many times people just hand me their credit card. It's like, hey, let's do it right now. Let's put an order. Every single conference I go to, it happens every single time. And it's I'm not bragging about it, but I'm just saying that my approach has been like that from the very beginning. And I as much as I would love a sales person to come in and bring in more business, it's not something I'm actively, if I curate a relationship with somebody and it ends up happening, and majority of my business is referrals. That's all we get, right? And it's doing that. Our content that we create, it's all education, it's all fun. Like when me and Timmy are making videos, like the whole thing about this podcast is, hey, it's education. Maybe somebody's gonna get to learn something from it, and we're just gonna have fun, if you can. So that's
Interesting.
that's my yeah.
I like that what you just said.
Yeah, it's a casual approach, but it's for me, it's work, because I know what my strong things are, and that's what I put my strong foot forward, and that's always that's how I start off with, and I don't know nothing else.
A couple of our clients have been hesitant to start because they've been burned by agencies in the past, where they've gone to an agency, oh, can you help with this? Yeah, we can do this, and this. And they've got full service that they don't actually need. When really they could have got away with 2 or 3 of the services out of 6. But like, oh, we'll do it all for you, when actually, and they've been burned by it. And they're like, I had a really bad experience with an agency, so I'm just a little bit hesitant.
Yeah. And my approach to that is always give them a very specific deliverable. Say, hey, I'll work with you. Here's a contract, or here's a campaign. Let's keep it campaign based. And at the end of the campaign, something very specific is going to happen. And I do that all the time. I said, hey, look, link building. Here's how link building works. The best way that link building is working is, if I build links, your keyword visibility is going to go up. If you're ranking for 20 keywords, you're going to rank for 30. Right? This means something, if nothing else is happening, and if I'm doing link building, that's happening. So that's a very small deliverable. And when people see that, they're like, oh, yeah, okay, all right, what's next? What's the next deliverable? What's the next deliverable? So if you do it that way, I think that just simplifies and relieves the burden on the person saying, hey, am I going to sign a retainer with this person for 1 year, right? I don't know. That's just my take. I'm sure Alex is that also. But he's doing a lot more websites. So I don't know how do you tackle that, but that's my approach typically.
I don't know either. As you said, process, man. I mean, like everything is process, and as I mentioned, my background is in art, right? Like, so I studied illustration, and when I went to school for illustration, like, we were taught the most important part is that when you're a commercial artist, the art is not yours. The art is for the person that actually pays you to create it for. Like, number one lesson. And then number 2 is like, you start sketching, and now again, this is not your art. This is art for somebody else, where somebody else is trying to get their vision using your talents, right, and your skills. So that has been very important, and that's why everything. And we're very data driven and very like there's a purpose behind everything we do. Like, if we look at the intent of keywords before I design a page, like, I don't know many designers that do that, right? We break down intent. But I want to say something for Paul though. Like, I know my friend's an engineer, so he deals with a lot of people within the industry and stuff like that. A lot of the questions when I hang out with his friends are like, oh, how do I get my company to be on the AI? And I think for your business, for Pronto Marketing, I mean, and I keep telling citations, mentions, and stuff like that. So PR is right now one of the most important parts, in my opinion, from what I read and and I see and I hear from colleagues and stuff like that. It's super important. So I know, you're in a good spot, and you should definitely, like, there's a lot of stuff you can definitely do for that.
And it helps warm people up as well. Like, people are getting less clicks on the website, but if AI has covered they've taken down the funnel to a certain degree. So by the time they land on your website, they're probably in a much better position to buy anyway, or send an inquiry, or they already know a certain amount about what you do or what you sell or about your product. Mm-hmm. I did the other day when I was buying a new wakeboarding what's it called? I had a buoyancy aid, and I was buying an impact vest after I had a bad crash. And I was walking my kid, chatting to ChatGPT, and I was asking all about the products. This is what my priorities are. This is what I want. I narrowed it down to 2 by the time we got home, 40 minutes later. And then that evening I bought one. So from going, not knowing what the difference was between a buoyancy aid and an impact vest, to then buying one an hour later. And actually I'd been on 2 websites, and that's just because I was checking the price from one to the other. And if I'd have really wanted to be lazy or time efficient or whatever you want to call it, I could have probably asked AI to find the cheapest price and they've done it anyway. But PR is, if it's not in people's marketing mix, it 100% should be. 100%.
100%.
I agree 100%.
And I'm curious, and actually either of you could answer this. How do you go about delivering bad news to clients?
That's
a great question.
I want both of you to answer that. That's amazing. Yeah.
Do you want to go first, or do you want me to?
Yeah, go, Paul. You're the guest. Go first.
For me, I'm really honest with clients, and I'll call a spade, and I'll just say it how it is. But I think if there's ever bad news, I'll always have thought about what's a solution or a workaround or a potential remedy to what that bad news is, because you can't change the bad news, but you can change how you react or respond to it. So I'd always have made sure, even if it's really timely, especially crisis comms as well, they can come in quick, and just making sure you're prepared with, it's really bad news, I'm just going to say it as it is, but here's a couple of options. How do you want to move forwards? And try and be part of the solution is how I would approach it.
Interesting. How about you, Alex?
Well, like it depends, because like we have so many, like we deal with big sites and smaller sites, so like it really depends. Most of the bad news that I have to bring in is mostly to set limits to clients, especially with design, right? Because move a dot 5 pixels to the right. Well, dude, I'm gonna develop it. I can do that in CSS, right? Like so usually, I mean, and you guys, Timmy and Naveed, you know very well. Like, I'm very upfront, and I say, I give the news as is, or whatever. If it's a bad thing, I'll bring it up front. But also, I ensure that there's solutions, and if we are at fault, right, I will ensure that myself and my whole team will stay there to fix the issue until it's resolved, right? No matter the hours, no matter what. And again, like it's the main reason we have clients, like I don't even remember since we started, like they haven't left. But yeah, I believe being upfront and being very, and I mean, listen, it's tech, things happen, right? Like, so you can't always know what's going to happen. So you have to be upfront, you have to be trusted, and you have to have a solution. That's why you're there. You're here to provide a solution. So, but yeah, I don't like bringing bad news though.
Nobody does.
And I think that like the real important part of like both of what you said was having some sort of a solution. So not just delivering bad news and then, oh, what are we going to do about it? You have some sort of course, a course of action that you can do. Yeah. That's the way to go about it.
Yeah. It's like, it's not bad news. It's a plot twist, right? And then like, here's what we have to do now. So
I think it was nice what you said as well, the accountability, because if someone goes wrong, not shifting the blame. It's like, if I messed up, I'll say, yeah, this is my bad. Let me fix it. Here's what I'm going to do. And like you said, it doesn't matter how long it's going to take. The accountability piece. And I think people are, when this happened to me before, if I've messed up and I've just come clean and like, look, I made this mistake, this is what I'm going to do about it. It's a lot better received than, right, yeah, that's there's no point trying to cover it up or get around it. Just, yeah, the accountability I think is a good one as well.
Awesome. Well,
So
we're coming towards the hour, so I think we'll maybe a couple more questions and then we'll call it a day. So, Timmy, did you have any?
yeah, I have one for Paul. Um, were you on Fear Factor?
The live show in Florida, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Please, pray do tell.
How was that? What did they make you do?
so it was. I can't believe you remember that, Naveed.
Talk about plot twists right there. Here we go.
Yeah, flat twist.
Paul won it, by the way. So you guys, you gotta give him credit. But tell us about it, Paul. I think that was interesting.
It was a family holiday, and there was my brother, his now wife, but back then was his girlfriend, my mum and dad. He was in Universal Studios, so if you want to be on the show, you'd turn up 45 minutes before the show, and they'd put you in these boxes, and they go around and ask you questions, and they're like, "What's your biggest fear?" And I was like, "My biggest fear is failure." And that is exactly what I said. And so ended up getting on it. There was 6 people. So the first task was you were 40 foot up in the air on a plank on a metal handle, and the floor dropped away, and the first 2 people to drop were out. And then the second round, I was raised on in a harness, and my partner, who'd won the first round, had to put their hand in a tank of eels and grab a beanbag and throw it to people who hung up and would catch it in a bucket. And then we had an apron on, and we were given rancid octopus, depending on how many balls we'd caught, raised 2.5 stories high and dropped. So we were like swinging on a pendulum. We had to throw in the rancid octopus to them to catch. And then there was me and this other contestant who went into the final, and there's a big stage. All the Universal Studios are massive, aren't they? And it was like a big shop frontage, basically. It was identical right and left, and you had to climb up and get flags off the side, slide down a lamppost, run to the front of the stage where there was like a classic Corvette, turn the engine on. It went to the ceiling of the massive Universal Studios auditorium, had to lean over the bonnet, rip flags off the front where the headlights were, then get a bazooka out of the back seat and shoot down the front of the stage. So yeah,
That's awesome.
It was a good experience.
Is there a clip of it? Is there I'm sure the YouTube, it's somewhere on YouTube.
There probably is. Yeah, I could probably get one the old camcorder. There's a photo of me when I was like 18 afterwards with a mini afro, like
I'm sure we'll hunt this down. But that was so interesting. Yeah.
They didn't make you eat anything.
No, but there were people who had like tarantulas on their face, and there was different sections.
Yeah, because like one of them is always a creepy crawly kind of challenge.
I don't know. I couldn't. The bug eating the bugs like they do. I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here in the UK, and they have like an eating challenge, and it's like eat a lamb's eyeball, and it's like couldn't anything like that is
like cooked or uncooked. Hold on,
be raw. That was
no.
Freshly plucked.
Oh no!
Ugh. Why? Like that's crazy.
My biggest fear is being on Fear Factor. That's what I would have answered. But I wanted to kind of close this off by Paul. And I asked this to everybody: is there like a win that you've had in your with Pronto that you're like super proud of that you want to share? We'd love to hear that.
Yeah, I'd say there's a few I could probably call on, but one in particular that I was really happy with was visit Dean Y. So it's Forest of Dean in Wye Valley. It's a beautiful place. If you've never been, you should definitely look it up. They were transferring over to a new website, and that was all the content, all new pages, all new redirects. It was a mammoth job. So this website had been going for years, and new platform. And we had a really tight deadline to get it done, which was, as I'm sure you'll know, like deadlines get passed along, and the website took longer in design, which meant that editing time from getting the keys to the back end to then having the go live date had been really reduced. And we managed to get it done 14 days ahead of deadline day, under budget, which is very rare. And I think I lost count at 588 pages, something like that. And in the middle of that, having a baby. So that for me was like a massive win.
That's awesome.
Ahead of time, under budget, had a baby. I'm really happy with the website as well.
That's awesome. We gotta check it out. Google it. Alex, you got a win you want to share with us? Anything recent that you've done? You're like, man, this is awesome.
Yeah, actually, so I worked on so here in Orlando, they have the Mystery Fun House. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Yeah.
So Westgate brought that up, and they created a new like, I guess, section underneath the resort. They have this huge water park, and they created this new arcade that's a partnership with Chuck E. Cheese's. And we actually built the whole site with a partnership with a design team from Westgate Resorts. And we launched, the opening was like, I think last Thursday. And what I loved about it, it was one of the first projects where, I want to give also, my friend over there, Alex Alexakis, because he was able to connect for first time. I've never done this before, where all of the teams were on the same level, same communication, and everything's consistent from the website all the way through the brand, right? We built a site and it's called mysteryfunhouse.com. All animations, like super complex designs, little things that make noises pop up, kind of fun, make it all fun. And we built it like super fast, and I'm very proud of that. The design of it is great, and I'm hoping, like we're having some design contest that we most likely will submit this year. But that was one fun project and very technical, like simple, but super technical with all the animations, So, and animations nowadays in mobile, they don't go well. So you have to think like, okay, it looks like this in desktop. How's that convert on the mobile, right? So we literally had to redesign everything to switch without like having double styles, right? So which is, we want the SEO and the content to be exactly the same. So there was a lot of challenges on that. But that's one of my proudest moments at this point.
Okay, we gotta check it out. Check the both sites out, and we'll give you the award if you don't win it. Alex, we'll make an award for you.
Send Alex award.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. All right. Well, yeah. Timmy.
Nice. Yeah, Paul, thank you for doing this. But before we go, something that we do like to wrap everything up, a shameless plug right at the end. How do people find you? Whatever you want to say. Go.
So check us out, prontomarketing.co.uk. We range of services, but as you know, PR, digital marketing, copywriting, website SEO, especially if you're interested in AI citations, GEO, and making sure that you're being represented and found by your audience where they're at, which I think is really key. Get in contact. I'm also on LinkedIn, Paul Williamson. I'd love to hear from them, and thank you very much for having me on.
Awesome. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that is it. Thank you all out there for watching and listening. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. We'll see you next time.